Hi, and welcome to First Bite, a Nation's Restaurant News podcast. I'm your host, Holly Petrie. Today is Tuesday, November 22nd, and here are your top stories. First, Le Pain Quotidien and Little Beat unite under new platform. John Weber, former CEO of NPC International, has formed Convive Brands around the former Orify-owned brands. Second, NRN editors discuss restaurant loyalty, prototypes, and White Castle, plus an interview with Steve Sturm and Stephen Loftus of Firebird's Wood-Fired Grill. Third, Taco Bell experiments with more nacho fries variations. Taco Bell has brought back the Enchilito for the first time in nearly 10 years, while also introducing 7-layer nacho fries and testing grilled cheese nacho fries. Fourth, Fugu taps Claudia Lacazano as its new CEO. Lezcano most recently served as Senior Vice President of U.S. Marketing at Church's Texas Chicken. And finally, Menu Tracker. New items from Burger King, Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, and Wendy's. See what chains across the country added to menus this week. Now let's take a sneak peek at an upcoming story on NRN.com. Turkey prices are rising. The bird flu has driven prices up during a year that inflation has already caused prices at the grocery store to rise. That leaves restaurants at an interesting spot during Thanksgiving. Many have turned to value propositions for customers to draw them in at a time when the grocery store is just unreasonable or unattainable. Hear more on this upcoming story on NRN.com from Alicia Kelso.
It's turkey season, and I don't know if it's going to be a great turkey season. You know, we've been dealing with inflationary pressures all year, supply chain interruptions all year, and then on top of things, there's the avian flu, which has sort of decimated the supply of turkeys. And we've been noticing this for months where I know there's a few restaurants, I'm not going to name them now because I think they've corrected their issues, but they've run out of turkey. No turkey sandwiches available at lunch. They toggle those off the menu and so forth. So this is not new, but it's coming to a head because it's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is the piece de resistance on Thanksgiving. And, this is, again, it's kind of coming to a head. So the American Farm Bureau Federation, because of these issues, is predicting Thanksgiving dinner, including turkey and all sides, to be about 20% higher this year versus last year, and that's significant for families who are hosting or otherwise. To give you sort of an idea of what that means, the average cost per person for the Thanksgiving dinner this year will be about just a little north of $64. Last year, it was a little north of $53. And back in 2020, it was about $47. So that just kind of gives you an idea of how expensive Thanksgiving is anticipated to be this year. What I believe that's doing is creating a sort of opportunity for restaurants to jockey for top of mind awareness. As they've been kind of this is, again, nothing new, but and restaurants have long pushed out their Thanksgiving promotions to get, an influx of traffic for people who don't have plans or who don't feel like cooking. But this year certainly feels a little bit different. And I, just judging by my inbox, there are several promotions that seem a little bit more aggressive than they have in the past because of the way that grocery trends have been trending. And, Holly, I want to note that this is not unique to Thanksgiving. Grocery prices have been trending at a higher clip for months and months now, versus restaurants, about 13% for groceries, compared to about 8.5% for restaurants. So restaurants have been sort of in an advantageous position for months, but now, now they're going for that traffic on our biggest eating day of the year.
And so how have restaurants specifically been handling it? I mean, I realize that they're going for the traffic, but how are they doing that?
So, when I talk about the anecdotal evidence that I'm seeing in my inbox, and I told you earlier, my inbox does not lie. You look at things like, Chipotle, for instance, they're offering 50 extra rewards points to members who ordered 2 entrees through this week. So they're positioning this as craving something other than turkey. So Chipotle's even injecting itself into the Thanksgiving consideration set, right? KFC just came out with its holiday buckets promotion that they're 12-piece and 16-piece. That's a group occasion, right? So they're positioning themselves specifically for this week. And then you've got the sit down more casual places that can offer full-on meals. And we know this is a different conversation than catering. Catering is, I think, well positioned this season as well. But these are sit-down restaurants that are specifically positioning themselves to be an alternative to high grocery prices. So Bob Evans is a good example. They're bringing back their farmhouse feasts. They're offering all the stuff that can feed up to 10 people for about $70, right? So that's a good example. Kona Grill is doing it, Macaroni Grill, Roost Steakhouse. All of these companies are offering, again, positioning themselves as a value proposition in response to those high grocery prices at the store. And then again, these promotions seem to be a little bit more aggressive than they've been in the past because they can be. I think it'll be interesting to see if there's a traffic uptick. I'm not sure, but I do think that the fact that all of these companies are offering these extensive group focused menus for those, that sweet spot cost, $50 to $70 to $80, is really telling about the environment right now.
Well, with so many of these brands raising menu prices over the past few months, how do these group deals factor into that?
I think, and that's where the value proposition comes into play, right? So we have seen a little bit of a traffic fall off from, menu pricing, but restaurant sales are still really plugging along given the macro economic environment. And this was something that intriguingly came up time and time again last week during the restaurant finance and development conference that I attended in Vegas. Is there's a general sense of optimism despite inflation because consumers are showing that they're willing to pay. Again, there's been a little bit of a traffic drop off, but nobody's sounding the alarm yet. And I think that's, there are a couple reasons for that. One, grocery prices are ticking higher. So if you're looking for a value proposition, why wouldn't you consider, for example, Eddie Merlot's? They're offering this huge Thanksgiving dinner for $49. They're putting price tags on this because they're positioning themselves as the better value proposition. And that goes all the way down to fast food. Again, we talked about KFC and their holiday buckets. And two, I think that restaurants are in an interesting position and able to take pricing because consumers still have a lot of cash on hand, right? The unemployment rate is still relatively low. So consumers have discretionary income. And, after 2 years of, I hate the word, pent-up demand, it's not going away. I mean, they want to eat out. We saw this, the National Restaurant Association just released their 2023 predictions, and pent-up demand for experiences is front and center. And so I think, after, again, a year and a half to 2 years of just sort of anxiety and regulatory disparities at restaurants, we still very much want that experience. And we're willing to spend the discretionary income that we have at restaurants, whether they raise prices or not. So I think that's the correlation that we're seeing here, Holly.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of First Bite. We'll be back tomorrow with a brand new one. Until then, stay up to date with all your news on nrn.com.